Currently, Native Americans in Minneapolis are being targeted by ICE.
One of them has been released, but they couldn't locate the other three.
Hi, lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda Strana. Thank you so much for all the love and support. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us. So lovely, I came across these stitches on my For You, and I thought to share where Native Americans are crying out loud, talking about how these agents have really targeted and focused on them, even though they are the real indigenous people. Like they, according to the stitches some are seen all over the social platform, they were like they own this place, and why is it that these eyes are now after them, telling them to like go back where? Lovelies, how can you actually come to someone's land, steal it, and claim it, and now you want these people out? That you want them to go where? Lovelies, I'm just going to roll the clip because the thing is that some of these, I think 50% of them actually voted for this administration. And
Believe it or not, ICE is detaining Native Americans. 3 members of the Oglala CO tribe have been detained by ICE, and there's more than just that. I mean, it's not really hard to go find the videos. Like, there's multiple instances where ICE has pulled over Native Americans thinking that they're Mexican or something, and then inevitably had to let them go. But now in Minnesota, Trump has basically declared revenge and retribution on that whole city. So they're just arresting anybody for immigration violations, to the point where they're just taking Mexican kids off the street, throwing them in the van, beating them up, and then letting them out like 20 feet from where they were. So anybody could get it, whether you're black, white, brown, like they're taking anybody. But for me, I think it's more of a symbolic injustice, because for white people to come over to this country and steal everything that the natives had, and then for them to create their own private fascist police force to put them in jail again for being immigrants here, like it's screwed up. And I hate to say it, but Native Americans or Indians aren't politically powerful in this country. They do receive some solid benefits, I will say that, but it's not like anybody's concerned about the Native American vote or whatever. So unfortunately, there's not very many people to advocate for them, except me, obviously.
You know, as a Native American, it's pretty interesting to me when you have the President of the United States say just because somebody landed there on a boat 500 years ago doesn't make it theirs. Okay.
By now, most of you have probably seen, or some of you have seen on the news, that 4 native Oglala Lakota men have been detained by ICE, 4 homeless men. This is my tribe. And according to this article by AP, they are not, 1 has been released and 3 are not being released, and they are being held because ICE wants to enter into an MOU with my tribe, with the Oglala Sioux tribe, OST. I feel like they're being held as pawns, as hostages, until the tribe enters into an MOU. The tribe doesn't have to. They need to release them now. They are American citizens by treaty, by law. They should have no authority over to hold them at all, but they are holding them, as I see it, as hostages in order for them to get some MOU for the tribe, because they probably want to be able to come onto the reservation at will, because they cannot. They cannot just enter into the reservation. There's a procedure, there's a mandate. They have to follow all this other rules and get permission to enter reservations. And my tribe is one of the larger tribes in the nation. This is wrong. Spread the news. Please share. They should not be holding them. They need to be released. We need more coverage on this. This is from the AP. Please share.
Currently, Native Americans in Minneapolis are being targeted by ICE. So far, unhoused community members, Indigenous leaders, as well as regular citizens are being detained, illegally jailed, and have gone missing under ICE's watch. 4 unhoused Lakota men near Little Earth, an indigenous hub, as well as often referred to as an urban reservation where multiple indigenous communities are now culminated, building community centers, have housing, as well as multiple ceremonies and places to gather. They were detained illegally and are now currently missing. The Oglala Lakota Nation is now currently looking for them, contacting federal agencies to make sure they provide the documentation and affiliative documents to make sure that they are safe and they are okay. Because of now Indigenous people and Indigenous tribal governments and officials can't find their own community members, we are witnessing missing and murdered Indigenous people as we speak. Another is an Indigenous leader of the Indigenous Peoples Movement, Rachel Diane Thunder, who was sitting across a local renowned Indigenous coffee shop and cafe, Powwow Grounds. She was sitting in her car, and ICE came up and detained her, which prompted the workers from the coffee shop to go outside and run and try to stop the illegal detaining and subsequent kidnapping that ICE does to Indigenous, Black, and other community members while she was recording on Facebook Live. Another was a Red Lake Nation community member, Roberto Ramirez, who was stopped, illegally detained, and pulled out of his car, all for trying to visit his aunt in a Minneapolis suburb. With all the attention going to the notable unaliving of people who are trying to defend Black and Brown communities from ICE, please do not forget the people are still being affected, being taken, and going missing. While we're raising $1.5 million for one person, we should be raising equal and even more so for the people who are most vulnerable and are being affected in every aspect and every day. Currently, Native Americans in Minneapolis are
ICE is currently holding 4 Lakota Oglala Native Americans at Fort Snelling, Minnesota, and I need everyone to watch this video to understand how severe this is and the history. The government has had a very long history of holding Native Americans hostage at Fort Snelling. Fort Snelling was once used as a concentration camp. I also need people to remember that this place was also used for the military for the Civil War and the World War II. I also want to add in there that this is where they hung little Six in medicine bottle and never returned their bodies. Of Native Americans that are on this land have never actually had a proper burial, so the fact that they're holding more Native Americans on this land is very, very disheartening. ICE is also refusing to let these Native Americans go, which is also very concerning because ICE has no jurisdiction over any Native American. Oglala Lakotas are one of the first original people to be on this land. What they're doing is dishonoring, it's genocide, and they need to stop. This has been going on for years. They have broken treaties, they have violated every law that they have when it comes to us, while we still honor everything and we still try to do it peacefully. I need everyone to share this video because the Oglala Lakota people need your help.
One of them has been released, but they couldn't locate the other 3. So the council members here, they're all elected officials of the Oglala Sioux tribe, and they gained access to the facility and they couldn't find their 3 tribal members. They claim that they're not classifying them by their nationality, which tribal members are also citizens of the United States since 1924. You know, there's nobody more American than American Indians. But they were unable to find them here today. And so they're going to continue on. They don't understand that we are America. How could you possibly target Native Americans and with immigration and customs enforcement officers and then imprison us? That is impossible. It's legally impossible to do that.
For any First Nation person that's living in the United States and Canada that supports Donald Trump and Pierre Poilievre, you really need to listen to this. First Nation people aren't safe from ICE or Homeland. It doesn't matter if they're the original Americans. This has never been about immigration. The idea of immigration was just a sales pitch. And if you think Pierre Poilievre would never do this in Canada, well, tell that to the people of the United States that always believed that people were just fear-mongering. Their belief in fear-mongering is now a nightmare. The Oglala Sioux tribe from the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota said that ICE and Homeland has 3 of their tribe members in detention, and that ICE and Homeland are refusing to release the tribal members unless the tribe agrees to an agreement that will allow ICE and Homeland agents onto the reservation. The tribe has flat out refused this agreement because the tribe states that it breaches their sovereignty and their treaties. ICE doesn't have any authority on reservation land. And most importantly, many people living on First Nations don't have government-issued IDs or passports. Those are luxuries. Most of us only have tribal IDs. And if ICE goes into reservation, and if individuals don't have a passport or a government-issued ID, what's the proof that they're an American citizen? Or would that stop ICE from taking them into custody? Who knows? This was never about immigration. After the immigrants, who do you think they're going to go after next? They're already going after American citizens, First Nations, the LGBTQ+, people of color, and people that don't agree with their messaging. Anyways, what do you think about this?
So ICE is detaining Native Americans now. Not immigrants, not undocumented individuals. Native Americans! People who are quite literally indigenous to this continent. So I guess my question here is, where the fuck do you intend on sending Native Americans? Hi everyone, if you're new, welcome. If you're not, you know what fucking time it is, bitch. It's time for the Daily Scream. As far as I checked, Native Americans are already home. This week in Minneapolis, ICE violently detained Jose Roberto Ramirez, who is not only a U.S. citizen, but a Red Lake Nation descendant. They beat him, mocked him, ignored him when he said that he was Native, and they then held him for 6 hours without any charges. 4 members of the Oglala Sioux tribe were taken off the street while homeless. No explanation, no paperwork, no idea where they were being held. Native people were stopped outside of coffee shops, they were pulled from their cars, dragged out of housing communities, all during what our government is calling the largest immigration raid ever. Native Americans are citizens by law, treaty, and history. They were here before the Constitution, they were here before ICE, and they were here before this fucked up government even existed. And now they're being told to prove that they belong here. If you have to carry papers to exist safely in your homeland, that's not law enforcement, that is straight up state violence. And Minnesota officials are calling this exactly what it is: lawless, racist, and dangerous. ICE isn't making any community safer. In fact, they're making them less safe. They're traumatizing families, they're escalating and starting needless violence. So let me be crystal fucking clear here. If indigenous people aren't safe from ICE, nobody is.
Seriously, lovelies, this whole thing is just that I think so many people are now beginning to realize that they could have just listened to black people. Like, seriously, I could vividly remember when the election result came out, and more than 50% of the native people actually voted for this. Like, truth be told, more than 50% of native voted for this. I saw some of their campaign rallies and all of that, and I keep asking myself, like, these people knew that this man was one time a president, and how everything turned out, and now with their clear eyes they voted for him for the second time. And now this whole thing is making it difficult for people who have been advocating for a very long time to come out to advocate, because it's as if everyone that is being affected right about now, they intentionally or intentionally knew that something like this was going to happen, but they did it anyway. They voted anyway, even though they knew deep inside of them that, oh, something like this may happen. I staged a video yesterday about a native woman crying and talking about how her niece was detained and arrested by ICE, even though she's been telling them that he's a citizen. We're not supposed to be scared. Like, they don't care. Anyway, let's continue with the rest of the
So
stages.
ICE is detaining Native Americans now. Not immigrants, not undocumented individuals. Native Americans! People who are quite literally indigenous to this continent. So I guess my question here is, where the fuck do you intend on sending Native Americans? Hi everyone, if you're new, welcome. If you're not, you know what fucking time it is, bitch. It's time for the Daily Scream. As far as I checked, Native Americans are already home. This week in Minneapolis, ICE violently detained Jose Roberto Ramirez, who is not only a U.S. citizen, but a Red Lake Nation descendant. They beat him, mocked him, ignored him when he said that he was Native, and they then held him for 6 hours without any charges. 4 members of the Oglala Sioux tribe were taken off the street while homeless. No explanation, no paperwork, no idea where they were being held. Native people were stopped outside of coffee shops, they were pulled from their cars, dragged out of housing communities, all during what our government is calling the largest immigration raid ever. Native Americans are citizens by law.
So I saw a post by a Native American, and they said that everybody's talking about leaving America, like jumping ship, let's get the hell out of here, we don't want to be in this country, let's go back to whatever European or non-American country we came from. And like the Native American indigenous person turned around and said, where the hell am I going? Where the hell am I going to go? This is actually my land. You guys came over here, absolutely ruined it, crapped it out, messed it up, and now you're going to sod off and leave us to fix it. But actually, that might be a good thing. Like if all the invaders left America and gave it back to the indigenous population, I'm sure whatever they decided to call it, because it wouldn't be America, because that's a colonial term, would be a much better place. I don't know. Like, does anyone ever stop and think about the fact that America is actually stolen land? They're talking about immigrants. They're talking about foreigners. They're all a bunch of foreigners. They're all a bunch of immigrants. But the original European ones actually invaded the land, and the indigenous people are on reservations. Like, sounds a bit like Israel, really, doesn't it? But yeah, we act like it hasn't happened. We act like America belongs to the Americans, and it doesn't. Canada doesn't belong to the Canadians. Australia doesn't belong to the Australians. New Zealand doesn't belong to the New Zealand people. It belongs to the indigenous people. You stole their land, you're living on it, and everybody acts like it's normal.
I try to keep you guys up to date, but there is so much this morning from yesterday and overnight that... So, first of all, ICE agents are holding some Native Americans hostage until their tribal leaders sign an immigration agreement allowing them to go on to the tribal lands. See, these are sovereign nations. The federal government does not have access to federal lands. The report I heard was that 3 Native Americans are being held, being detained as leverage, basically as a hostage, to try to get the tribal leadership to sign the agreement to allow the feds to come do immigration raids on tribal land. There is a neighborhood in Minneapolis that's on fire this morning because I set off flashbangs and chemical grenades that have started fires in the neighborhood. They tear gassed a house with children in it. There's a video you can go watch where people are being carried out of the house, and the bystanders are saying, is that a kid? Is that a kid? That's a kid. One bystander said it appeared that the child had been pew-pewed, but that's not confirmed. We don't know. We know paramedics were carrying this child-sized person out, whether it was from a pew-pew or the tear gas. Either way, there's a child being carried out because of what ICE has done. We saw a video 2 days ago of a man where they literally George Floyded him and then carried him off, and he looked unalived to me. And as of yesterday, he's unaccounted for. And Trump has announced starting February 1st, he is cutting all federal aid to all blue states, which will end in nothing less than the collapse of our system as we know it. Like, not just blue states. If blue states fall, red states are coming with them. Is this enough yet? How is peaceful protesting going to help us here? It's not. It is time to do more. And no one is coming to help us. Go love your neighbor. And not just with your words.
Seriously, lovelies, there is actually an irony watching this ICE agent detaining Native Americans, people whose ancestors lived, governed, and protected this land long before the United States existed, according to history. Native Americans are not immigrants. They are the original inhabitants of this land. Yet, in modern America, some indigenous people have been questioned, detained, or forced to prove their right to be here. This reality exposes a deep contradiction at the heart of the American immigration system, a system built on colonial conquest, now policing the descendant of those it's displaced. Before border, before passport, before immigration law, there were Native Americans organized and rooted in the land, from the Navajo to the Lakota, the Cherokee to the Apache. These nations had their own governments, trade system, languages, and laws. The land now called the United States of America never was discovered, it was inhabited. Yet, history took a brutal turn. Through colonization, broken treaties, forced removal like the trial of tears, and the policies designed to erase indigenous identity, Native Americans were pushed to the margin of their own land. Reservations were created against their own will, but a colonized or contaminated zones after vast tourism were taken. Fast forward to the day, as we see ICE people enforcing immigration law on land that was once guaranteed to native nation through treaties that under the US Constitution are supposed to be the supreme law of the land. When ICE detain or question Native America, it raises uncomfortable question. Who truly belong here? Who gets to define legal presence? And how much does history matters in modern law enforcement? Many Native Americans do not carry passports. Some live near borders drawn long after their tribe existed, such as the US Mexico or US Canada borders, which cut directly through ancestral land. Families, communities, and scarce cities were split by line indigenous people never agreed to. When Native individuals are stopped and asked to prove citizenship, it reflects a system that prioritizes paperwork and history and appearance over truth. There is also a racial element that cannot be ignored. Indigenous people are often misidentified as foreigners or foreign because of how they look, how they speak, or how they live. This mirror a large pattern in America where brown and black bodies are treated as suspicious by default. The assumption is guilt first, explanation later. What makes this special painful, or what makes this especially painful, is that Native Americans were once forcefully made US citizen in 1924, right? The Indian Citizen Act granted citizenship to all Native Americans without consent, without compensation, and without restoring stolen land. Citizen was imposed and not offered, and yet, even with this imposed stature, Native Americans still find themselves questioning, detained, and disrespected. This isn't just about ICE, it's about a nation struggling to reconcile its origin story with its present day policies. You cannot bully a country like a country on colonization, erase indigenous sovereignty, and then turn around and treat indigenous people as outsiders. This is what we are saying in 2026. The people whom we're supposed to be the indigenous people, right, are now being treated like immigrants, outsiders. Even though before the term United States of America, there are people already living there. People that are already living there. Then these people now came with their rules and regulation. Like, where did they even expect these people to go? This is actually not about eyes anymore. It's about a nation struggling. Seriously. If America is serious about justice, then it must confront these contradictions honestly. Seriously. That means educating law enforcement about native sovereignty, respecting treaty rights, and acknowledging that immigration enforcement on stolen land will always carry moral weight. A land that that is being forcefully, then all of a sudden, even though the land was created, before it's being created, there are people there, and now you want people that is there to get out and maybe get deported to where? Which other land do they have? You know. Anyways, at the end of the day, the most uncomfortable truth remains: the people being questioned, detained, and asked to go back to where they come from are the very people who never left. That is just the bone of contention here. But another thing is that these guys voted massively for this present administration. They never knew the person that they are trying to contend with is someone who does not care about you, is someone who does not care even if you're the first person to arrive on this land. So far, I have conquered the land. You need to leave. He doesn't care. These agents, they don't even care. I heard that somebody can just wake up and become an ICE agent. They don't perform any form of screening. They don't even get tested even academically or intelligence wise. Anybody could just go to the website, register, and become these people. So what do you even expect? If they see that you're a brown or a black person, or if you're not snow white enough, now they're even questioning the type of a white person that you are. So even those people who claim to be white, you need to identify the kind of white person that you are. And this thing make me keep asking, what is the kind of white that is supposedly was supposed like, I don't even know how to put it, because now that I'm seeing what type of white you are, so what is the premium white that these people want? Is it the British white, or what kind of, or German white? Like, what kind of white is the real white? Oh god, I feel so sorry for these people. Seriously, lovelies. Anyways, wanna just leave your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. Please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We just here for educational and informative purposes. So please share this video, subscribe to the channel if you're here to do that, like, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one. Anyway, lovelies, wanna just leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational and informative purposes. So please share this video, subscribe to the channel if you're here to do that, like, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.